Plant FAQs. Calathea Musaica. Mosaic Calathea. How to care for Calathea Musaica. The Calathea Musaica, also known as the Mosaic Calathea, is a stunning houseplant prized for its vibrant, patterned foliage. To keep your Calathea Musaica looking its best, here's a guide on how to care for it. See more 59 species in genus Calathea at monsteraholic.com. Lighting. Bright, indirect light. Calathea Musaica thrives in bright, indirect sunlight. Avoid harsh direct sun, which can scorch the leaves and fade the beautiful patterns. A spot near an east-facing window with sheer curtains or filtered light is ideal. It can tolerate lower light conditions, but the growth might be slower and the leaf patterns might be less pronounced. Watering. Maintain consistent moisture. Aim for evenly moist soil, but not soggy. Overwatering is a major cause of root rot. Here's a good approach. Check the soil moisture regularly. Stick your finger into the top inch of soil. If it feels dry to the touch, it's time to water. Water deeply when watering, allowing excess water to drain freely from the drainage holes. Avoid leaving the plant sitting in water. Humidity. High humidity preferred. Calathea Musaica enjoys high humidity levels, around 50% or more. This can be a challenge in drier climates. Here are some ways to increase humidity. Use a pebble tray filled with water placed under the pot. Ensure the pot sits above the water level. Group plants together to create a humid microclimate. Run a humidifier near your plant. Mist the leaves occasionally with filtered or distilled water. Avoid excessive misting, which can encourage fungal diseases. Temperature. Warm temperatures. Maintain a warm temperature range between 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius and 27 degrees Celsius. Protect your Calathea Musaica from cold drafts and sudden temperature fluctuations. Soil. Well-draining potting mix. Use a well-draining potting mix that allows for good aeration. Here are two options. Aeroid mix. A commercially available aeroid mix specifically formulated for plants like Calatheas is a great choice. DIY mix. Create your own well-draining mix using equal parts potting soil, perlite, and orchid bark. Fertilizing optional. Light feeding. Calathea Musaica is not a heavy feeder. You can fertilize it monthly during spring and summer with a diluted balanced fertilizer or a fertilizer specifically formulated for aeroids. However, fertilizing is not essential for healthy growth. Additional tips. Wipe the leaves occasionally with a damp cloth to remove dust and improve light absorption. Repot only when the roots outgrow the current container. Choose a pot with drainage holes slightly larger than the root ball. Calathea Musaica is sensitive to chemicals in tap water. Use filtered or rainwater whenever possible. Brown leaf tips can be a sign of low humidity, underwatering, or mineral buildup from tap water. How to propagate Calathea Musaica. To propagate Calathea Musaica, I carefully divided the plant during its growing season, usually in spring or early summer. I gently removed the plant from its pot, making sure not to damage the roots, and then separated the rhizomes, ensuring each new division had a few healthy leaves and roots. After replanting each division in fresh, well-draining soil, I kept them in a warm, humid spot with indirect light and maintained consistent moisture to encourage growth. It was a meticulous process, but seeing the new plants thrive was incredibly rewarding. Is Calathea Musaica rare? From my experience, Calathea Musaica isn't exactly rare, but it can be a bit hard to find compared to other more common houseplants. I had to visit a few specialty nurseries and browse online plant shops before I found one. The hunt was part of the fun, though, and it made finally getting my hands on one feel like a real achievement. It's definitely a plant that stands out in my collection due to its unique foliage pattern. How big do Calathea Musaica get? My Calathea Musaica has grown to be about 2 feet tall and wide, which seems to be its typical mature size. It took a couple of years to get there, with steady growth throughout the seasons as long as I kept up with its care requirements. I love how its mosaic-like leaves make such a statement without taking over too much space. It's a perfect size for adding some lush greenery to a room without it becoming overwhelming. Calathea Musaica versus network. Calathea Musaica and network are actually referring to the same plant. There's a bit of confusion around the names. Here's the breakdown. Calathea Musaica. This is the botanical name for the plant. It's the most accurate and scientific way to identify it. Calathea network. This is a common name that highlights the plant's distinctive feature, the network-like veins and patterns on its leaves, resembling a mosaic. Some plant sellers or care guides might use Calathea network more prominently, especially if they want to emphasize the visual characteristics. However, both names refer to the same Calathea species,